There we are.
There we are. Cool. So it's great to be. It's another Thursday, full disclosure Thursday. So when in the hot seat today, we are super delighted and very lucky to have Kate Moore, who works with volunteers with, because it's a completely voluntary organization, the Parents for Public Schools.org here in San Francisco. And I'll let you kind of take it, Kate, and give us a kind of an introduction yourself, your background in it.
Thank you very much for having me to start with. And I will say, I'm not a volunteer. I get paid. I'm like many non-profits.
Yeah.
You've got to have paid staff. It makes us more professional, you see.
Yes.
It just means we can keep using the skills that we learn in one non-profit and take it to another. So that's one of the reasons why we are paid. But what I'd like to do is share my screen and show you a couple of slides.
Yeah, let me just
give you
give you the proper permissions to do that.
Okay,
so
no worries.
Work away.
Okay, so let me just make sure I'm picking the right one. Here we are. Okay, can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Great. Okay, so I can't because I'm in the wrong window. Look at that. Hello. So 1 second.
I always love the notebook. It's just so distinguishable for your organization.
Yes.
And you know, one of the reasons we have you on chatting today, we will do a much more in-depth kind of thing with you, but it really is making people aware of your existence and just the amazing and great work that you do.
Well, that's very kind of you to say so. And it is really important that parents do find out about us, because if you're like me, when I came to the city in 2013, I knew absolutely nothing about, well, apart from being in a new country, which was a task in itself, coming in with two children aged 5 and 8 at the time. It was a big deal in terms of like figuring out what on earth I was going to do with them. It was the end of May, and I was really not sure whether I could join them into school straight away. I literally knew nothing about the system. So it was great to find an organisation like PPS. I didn't get really involved with them until a little bit later, when the kids were at middle and high school levels, but I'll tell you a bit more about that as we go along. But as I said, we're a non-profit, which means that we are here to serve. We use all the money that we gather through charitable and other sources to serve the parents and families of San Francisco. And we've been going for 20 years. We've been,
Wow.
we started out as a voluntary organisation. And as I said, we professionalised over a very short time, able to attract thousands of families to our cause, but also helping thousands of families. We've helped like nearly 300,000 families in
Wow.
that period. So it's a big amount of work that we're able to do across the city every year. And I can talk about that as we go along. So I'm trying to figure out whether because I'm sharing my own screen, I'm trying to see whether I can, nope, I need to switch screens. Excuse me a minute. There it is. Okay, next slide. Slide 2. Okay, how we help parents. So Parents for Public Schools is, as I said, here to serve parents and families in the city. So we're here to help families who are looking for schools for their children, but also we're here to provide resources and information for parents as once their kids are in schools. So to make the public school experience the best that they can have. After all, that's our mission. We're here to enhance the value of public education, but also get parents to get the most out of the public school system. So one of the major things we do is about helping families get their kids enrolled into school. So we talk to them about how the enrollment fair that happens once a year works, and how to search for schools and get the best fit for their family, because it isn't always about finding the top school, but it might be about finding what's the best school in your neighborhood if you want to have your child go to the one that's close to your home. So you were going to say something, Eddie?
Yeah, I was going to say it's Delhi. This is really the one pain point that we see with a lot of people in San Francisco. It all seems very complicated, and if you just look at raw data on, like, websites that give a score a school, that's not always a great representation of everything. And
Yes.
so I think
Yeah, and
having yeah, having people be able to communicate with a network and a community that can actually be a direct source into these places
yes.
is incredibly valuable.
That's so much of what we do is about trying to dispel some of those early sort of thoughts that people have about, like, what's this school like? I don't know anything about it. Where do I start? What do I do? And so this is why we know that there's so many ways that you can find out about a school, whether it be joining the local school community, or finding out how they do things, having a look at what they do. Have they got a PTA or PTSA, parent teacher organization, that you can see how active they are in their community, whether they've got before and after school programs, what kind of enrichment programs they have, as they're known, whether that be sports and music and all of those other outdoor education, all those other good things that public schools do. What they do with regard to special education, for example. So one of the things I discovered that's great about public schools in this city is that my son's got ADHD, but I didn't know that when I got to the US, and his teacher identified some of the problems he was having. So we got some great assessment through the district. We've had an amazing support through their special education team, and that is not something that you get through private education. It's an extra service. So you wouldn't get like the para educators that sit alongside students in class. You wouldn't get the weekly and monthly meetings with their special education teams, and you wouldn't get the every 3 years, I think they do another full assessment of your child if you're in that system. So that's one enormous benefit.
It is. It's massive, and I don't know if it's the part of the world that we come from, because I often think that I should have been diagnosed as that as a kid, and never was. But
Yeah.
I know many families who have actually gone out of private education and into the public system because of the support that you get in this area. So.
That's right. And so that's one of the things that we like to be able to share with families. That's why we do all the outreach that we do, whether that be directly into communities, by going to schools and telling people what we do. But we've also got parent ambassadors and parent leaders. So parent ambassadors are people that we connect. Say, let's say you're interested in a particular school, or you've been offered a place in a particular school, but you don't really know that much about it, and you want to find out more from a parent's perspective. Well, we've got a whole network of parents across the city who will be happy to chat with you over email or phone and tell you all about the schools.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's so useful, and I'm my kid's middle school ambassador, and it's so nice to be able to say this is actually what it's really like.
Yeah.
No matter how much you found out from their website or looked at their PTSA stuff, this is my sort of day-to-day experience of the school. This is what I think the teachers are like, and that can make a really big difference. And as you say, it's so much nicer to be able to connect that way, rather than trying to figure out what all the statistics mean when you go on greatschools.org. That stuff is really hard to navigate. So,
and it's easier, I think, when somebody talks to a parent that they connect with, and that this parent is like, hey, I know exactly what you're going through, and this is kind of what it was like for me, and
yes.
and this is how it turned out. Like, that is that's so valuable.
Absolutely. And it can really just calm your fears. It can just make you feel like, all right, it's not just me. I'm not, and it can be okay. It doesn't, and I totally understand that's the concern and worry and interest that parents have. And that's great. It means you're an engaged parent. It means you want the best thing for your kid, and you want the right thing for your kid. And that's obviously that's fantastic. But we're here to basically help you feel like you're empowered. You with information and with using those networks, you can get all the things you need out of the public school system, which you've paid for through your taxes. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a double win. So as I said,
and a lot of times there's so much stuff available that you really need guidance to know how to properly utilize it. So.
It's true. And yeah, we all talk to our friends and contacts. And I mean, as I said, when I came to the city, I didn't have any of those things because I didn't have any natural networks. So it was, I got the recommendations from my kids' elementary school choices from people I met in the park randomly. Just like, okay, this sounds good. I'll put that one in. But it was so it's a bit of a difficult situation. But I had a
crapshoot.
It was, but at the same time, I've had such a good experience. I've got kids who are A-grade students in both their schools, having a really healthy, happy education, even through distance learning. You know, they're both, you know, well-rounded, and they've had some really interesting experiences as well. So it isn't just about, you know, what's happening in your maths class or how much science you're doing, but what kinds of teachers you've met, who's in your class with you, what sports have you managed to try, and all those sorts of things make the difference for your kids' education and their experience of it. So yeah, I mean, as I said, from a personal perspective, I've had a really good experience, and I wouldn't dream of doing it another way. So I think I've probably gone across a few of the different ways in which that we do things at PPS. As I said, there's a whole raft of different ways in which to connect to that information. And we have I don't know whether you're connected already, Eddie, but we have a newsletter that goes out every couple of weeks, which gives parents updates on, okay, the district's doing this, for example, all the distance learning things that we've been circulating, all of the new information about how, or just reminding parents, look, you don't have to worry about this, or if you're concerned about this is where to go. I'm answering questions from parents all the time about that stuff, and it actually is just a matter of sharing that information that's already out there. So as I said, it's, you know, signposting SFUSD resources is a lot of what we do as well. So
perfect.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead. You were going to say something else, Sam?
No, I was just going to say, like, you know, a lot of what we're doing is helping people understand what's available to them. But go ahead.
So ultimately, how do parents initiate kind of contact with you?
Okay,
and can expectant parents actually reach out to you, or people with you know, toddlers, 2 and 3-year-olds,
absolutely,
who are in the very early stages?
Yeah, so I think like all things, you always feel better when you feel empowered by the information. If you can grab some information, feel like you know what the situation is, you just feel better. And yeah, absolutely, we're connecting with parents of 2 and 3-year-olds all the time, but just because they're thinking about that now. So we do a lot of work in preschools across the city. We do our workshops, enrollment workshops across the city. And admittedly, that's all on Zoom at the moment, but it's absolutely, we do about 150 every enrollment season. So that's it. That's how we reach all those thousands of people. And obviously,
do you do that with a volunteer network? How do you do that?
Mainly, we facilitate those. No, that's
the ambassadors.
Some of them, but mainly our staff. We have some really hardworking people, and sure. Like I say, we reach. I think we probably reach about 3,000 or 4,000 parents per year that way, and that's great, because you really are getting not only lots of detailed information out to people, but any questions they've got, and believe me, there are many varieties and colours of questions that come through. They can ask us directly. That's why it's good, because we're a real person there, and rather than being at the in a sort of scary SFUSD office at the other end of a phone line, we're there as humans, answering their questions and allaying any fears they've got. So that's a really nice thing to be able to do.
That's amazing. Do you get any support from the city, or are you all is it all kind of privately funded?
It's a combination. We do have contracts with SFUSD to share information about the enrollment system, as in, you know, making sure that particularly the communities that find it harder to reach this information can get it. So obviously there are some. So
you do many languages, and
that's right. We do workshops in Spanish, in Cantonese and Mandarin. And yeah, that's a really, really important part of our work, because we know that those communities find it harder to connect to the information systems that the city has and that the school district has. And we really want them to have as good experience and a better experience for their kids, because they've not been doing so well in the American school system, and we want to improve that, help improve that. So that's a really, really important part of our work. And that into that end, what I was saying before about ways we get families engaged, because we're so used to PTAs engaging parents and meeting people on the schoolyard and that sort of thing, that doesn't always reach those other communities. So we're quite keen for those other communities to understand that being engaged in school and knowing how to connect with teachers and the faculty of each school is a really important way of getting the most out of your school for your kid. So as it shows here, there's a ton of different ways to connect with us.
A ton of different ways.
Yeah. So we're really active on Facebook, on Twitter, and our website's really regularly updated. We do through our newsletter, we create news blogs on our website, which means that anything that comes out of SFUSD that we know that parents need to know about, whether it be new deadlines for applications, or new ways. For example, the enrollment fair coming up that's normally happens in mid-October. It's happening a bit later. It's only by a week, but it's basically they've had to rejig the whole thing. Normally it's an event that we get lots of people coming along to, probably about 5,000 or 6,000 parents come along to that. It happens on one Saturday in John O'Connell's school in the Mission District. And it's a crazy free-for-all of all the schools with their tables showing their wares, and the principals are there to talk to.
It's like open day at college with clubs vying for your
exactly. So it's it's a great way for parents to find out about what a school feels like in terms of its culture and its people, and they often have lots of students there as well. This year, unfortunately, because of the virus, we are doing it all virtually, but it's hopefully going to be a good one. I think they're having videos that schools are releasing, but they're also got live Zoom sessions to visit for parents to go and drop in and say hi and find out what the ask the same questions they'd ask the principal at the school enrollment fair.
And there's actually a level of efficiency in these virtual forums that we just had one that was 2 days, and normally we'd have to fly to another city, we'd be staying in a hotel, there'd be thousands of people in a hotel, and there'd be noise and distractions, and you'd be trying to figure stuff out. And with this, it's very, very kind of concentrated. The focus is a lot better.
I agree. And I do think actually, this whole pandemic has made everyone drag themselves very quickly into the 21st century. And for me, that's a great thing. It means that people can access it, even if they're at work, or they can't get there during the day when it's normally on, or, or they didn't get to see that video, but it's going that thing, but we're going to record all the videos so they can see them at their leisure, and they can actually, it can be a bit more democratic actually in a way. And as you say, it's a bit calmer that way, because those enrollment fairs are a bit crazy.
It's gotta be intense. And then you actually, I'm looking at, you post on YouTube as well. So
we do, we don't put everything up there, but we particularly at the moment we're doing a whole series of events on distance learning. So we have for example, I presented one the other day on technology, making sure that parents were fully ready for the whole start of the school year, like how to log into Google Classroom, what happens when you get a message from your teacher about this program called Seesaw, and what does it mean to particularly for households that haven't done this before, or if this is a whole new thing for them, and what happens if it all starts to go wrong? What can you do? How can you reach the teachers? What can you do for technical help? So that's the kind of thing that we're doing a lot of at the moment, a whole series of webinars.
Can you do anything on Seesaw about the build-up of classes and tasks that haven't been done yet to get that number. It's like your email number where you're like, oh my God, it's getting so big.
Exactly, I know, and it does feel like that, and that's what we're always wary of, that we the parents shouldn't feel overwhelmed, and I frequently do, and I got I've got a folder in my inbox that said school stuff, and the number of things I've just hurled into there, just like, I'll look at it later. But no, you're right. It's it is.
But it's a great program. I have to say, it is that Seesaw is a fabulous platform.
Yeah, it's good. But it was new to everyone. So how and it was, so it's been really great to be able to, as I said, empower parents, to make them feel like they don't feel so idiotic when they're trying to do all these things. So that's the kind of thing we put on YouTube, and more up-to-date stuff, a bit like what the reason why social media is what it is because it happens on the day. It's a newsfeed thing. You've got information that's come out from the district, and we need to get it out there to all parents. Those are the channels we use. So we've got a few ways to engage here, and as I said, the newsletter is our sort of our Bible in a way. Yeah, exactly, because it all lands up there in the end. So if you've got customers, audiences out there that want to join, by all means visit our website and do it that way. So
that's the gateway. So
it is indeed. And as I said, that there's a ton of different ways to get involved. If you're already in a school and you want to become a parent ambassador, that's fantastic. It's a really good way to do. It's a little bit of volunteering, but it's not like super heavy lifting. It's you might get a couple of calls every semester. If you've got a company or a preschool or a school that you want us to come and give you all that good information about how the enrollment process works, we are happy to come along. We just need to talk to you. So you just visit our website and you can book those. And we're obviously really interested in getting connected to companies who can help us do more of this work, because basically that's what nonprofits are about. The more cash we can get, the more of this fantastic work we can do. And as I said, the QR code there is to help donate, and if people want to take part and really support their local community and the people that are working so hard to make things better. So I don't really need to say very much more about PPS. I'm going to leave the QR code up there for a second. Is there any other questions that came up for you?
Have we any questions from anybody out there in the audience? Hayley?
Not yet. We'll give them a minute.
Yeah.
We can always circle back.
So that's one of the things that we do, is we stay in close contact with the SFUSD and the Education Placement Centre, which, if you haven't already been there before the shutdown, was your go-to place to pick up application forms, deliver your application form, speak to one of their counsellors about the whole process. But they're obviously now all offline, and so it's basically about getting information out of them and sharing it with you guys. So they've started to share all of the information about the coming enrollment year or enrollment season, and so we're just finalising our workshops now for this coming season. We'll be starting to share that with people.
This is really you're kind of moving into your crazy time.
There's a lot of activity happens this time of year, and it's good, it's exciting. I'm glad everyone's settled into the first couple of weeks of school. Now we're
and just out of how many students are in the school system within San Francisco?
Is it like 70,000? I'm sort of picking it out of the air, but I feel like it's something near 70,000.
70,000. So it's a super big school district.
It is a big school district.
Like, that's unbelievable.
Isn't it amazing? And I heard the other day that since the spring, the school district has disseminated devices, that's laptops and hotspots, 30,000 of them since the beginning of it all, which is like, that is incredible. So even if you've got a household with 2 kids in, you are still eligible to have 2 laptops. If you didn't have those devices before, they will supply them, and they will give you a hotspot if you don't have enough Wi-Fi, and they'll support you with any technical help you need as well, which is amazing. I think
Yeah,
that's
Amazing.
incredible.
I think Salesforce was a company that jumped in to help
Yes.
out with that. Yeah.
Yeah, they've always been quite involved with the district. So yeah, my son was at Presidio Middle when they were redoing quite a lot of stuff there, and my daughter's been a beneficiary as well because she's got one of their iPads that they donated. So yeah.
Yeah, it's great to see that that level of involvement too for the part of the world that we're in.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the lovely thing. Like, for example, I also know that the IT team at SFUSD have got how many thousands of volunteers? So through the IT industry in the city, they've got volunteers able to give like 30-minute tutorials or just help, just troubleshooting over the phone to people. So basically, you just sign up for a session with a volunteer, and they will help you if you're having issues, which is really incredible because that kind of thing is expensive, and it can be it's really hard, and you can really panic if it's going wrong. So.
Yeah, and it's the stress of like this class is started, like there's all these, and a lot of times the errors or the mistakes that are happening are user error, right? So
so much of the time it's like, oh gosh, what have I pressed? What have I got? What have I done wrong? And you feel really guilty because you think you've disrupted your kid's class.
Yeah, totally. I've been in that position a couple of times.
Mine just frown at me now when I go anywhere near them. They're like, "Mum, I'm in a class." Just like, okay, all right, I didn't know.
Well,
I have a
go ahead.
Sorry. I just had a quick question in terms of, this is so amazing, and I mean, I don't think that anything like this existed when I was in school on the East Coast by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. So do you feel, are there comparable kind of like counterparts in the East Bay and North and South? Like, do you know if this kind of thing exists there?
PPS is a national organization, but we're not very widespread. We have, I mean, in Northern California, at least, we are the only chapter that serves this community. I mean, the principles are the same in the sense of, the recommendations we make for how to choose a school and, the kinds of ways that you can get involved in a school. That's pretty similar across all school districts. So the kind of advice that we would offer, and, I would invite anybody to browse across our website for some of that information about, like how to get the most out of my kids' public school education. That's pretty standard stuff. But no, I'm afraid we're here for San Francisco.
This is amazing.
Yeah, and I think as San Franciscans, they get to reap the benefits.
We do.
And
I did. I mean, that's why I joined the organization. In the end, I was signed up to do one of their high school workshops, and then I found out they had a job going. So, but it really helped me when I was trying to find a high school for my kids. So that was.
It's amazing. And, in a lot of ways, we get people who come to us and they're like, hey, we want to go to Marin or we want to go to the East Bay, because we're dealing with kids in schools. And, we like to get them connected into you guys first to be like, don't jump over to some of the other locations without.
It's funny. I'm being a weird foreigner. I don't really. This is a funny one to me. I don't really understand about jumping away from the city system. Yeah. There are so many resources in the city. That's the amazing thing.
Well, it sounds like it now that I know that. I mean, that's incredible. Yeah. I really had no idea that this was so in depth and available. So.
Yeah, and resources in schools are because it's a big school district. They've got a big variety of resources, and that's what's the amazing thing is that. If you want a tiny school, you can find one. If you want a really big school, like for example, my kids, when we were given 2 separate elementary schools, which I thought at first, I didn't really think about it, to be honest. I was I've just arrived in the country mode. And
but they're not that far apart.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll just drive. Yeah. And one went to a really small school and the other one went to quite a big elementary school. And it was perfect for them. I wouldn't swap them because they just suited them. It just suited their characters, and they both had a really, really good experience. So
awesome. Wow.
So did you have any other questions from your?
Sean, do you have any questions? You're on mute if you do. So
welcome, Sean.
Welcome. So I think I've covered everything. You've been amazing, Kate, and I really appreciate it, and looking forward to doing a workshop and stuff in the future, which
that'd be great. I mean, like I say,
people.
we've got a lot of detailed information out there that really is, particularly when you're like got a 3-year-old and you think, oh my God, what do I do? That's the kind of thing we have. They're called Countdown to Kindergarten, basically, because it does feel that way when your kids are that age. You're like, oh my God, the time's just slipping by. What should I do? And so that's what we have a few public workshops, but what we like to do is be able to tailor it to smaller groups and to be able to answer those one-to-one questions.
Yeah, and I think when you go through 2 years of preschool, you suddenly realize how quickly it moves, and that's why Countdown to Kindergarten is like it is like the launch of a spaceship. So it comes fast. You've been amazing, Kate.
Good.
Thank you so much. We so appreciate this, and you're welcome to hang out. We do a market update, and Sean talks a little bit about loans. You're welcome to hang out and ask questions on that end of stuff. If
by all means, I'll hang out and find out what you guys do now.
Yeah, there you go. Excellent. So, Sean, how are you doing today, and how's the world of lending?
I'm doing good. The world of lending, it just gets more interesting every day. So now 10% down to 1.4 million came back last Monday. So that's a good thing. So that's done with the first mortgage at the conventional loan limits and then an equity line second for the difference. But that came back as of Monday of last week. So that opens up a lot of doors for people again. Self-employed, the guidelines that rolled out July 13th for self-employed buyers, or if people are refinancing, were a little bit gray to say the least. And guinea pigging that, I figured that out pretty well. So I've got that dialed in now. And then the fires are kind of the biggest thing that's happened this week. With the fires, it's interesting. We had guidelines come out that FEMA has named certain counties disaster areas. I don't know the exact terminology, but something to that effect. So now what you have to do, so as an example, I have a client who's buying a house in Vallejo, relocating from the city to Vallejo. They're in Solano County. Solano County is named as one of those counties. It's 10 to 15 miles from the actual fires, but as a result, we have to do basically an interior, it's not like it's an appraisal, an interior drive-by where the appraiser doesn't go room to room. They just kind of look to make sure that there's no fire damage, I guess. And I found this out yesterday, but I'm asking for an exception because it's so far. So that applies to a large majority of the counties because of the way the fires have started. So I had a client in Santa Cruz that was in contract. The house he was buying does not exist anymore. So that's kind of been the hardest thing to deal with. Is we just haven't, I personally, I mean, we've seen the fires before. We just haven't seen them this spread out through Northern California all at once.
And down to Southern California.
So it's
through. Yeah. And that house, so they were in escrow on a property and the house burned down while in escrow.
Yeah, we're 90. So it's in the Santa Cruz Mountains. So we're not, no one's been able to go up there to verify this, but based on the fire maps, it's like a 95% chance that it's not there anymore. And even if, and that's the thing, even if it was, if you're going to buy a home in the mountains, you want to be away from people, you want the views, the redwoods, all of those things. If your house is standing, but everything that you wanted up there is now gone, do you still buy the house? So that one's to be seen, but it's just 2020.
That's crazy.
We just keep going.
2020. So it's like the apocalypse. It's crazy.
Yeah, what's next? I think the earthquake. Anyone?
Yeah. Don't. People are afraid to even mention it because it's just like just bringing that in could bring a. But it's
I'm
true.
not going to jinx us.
Yeah, don't jinx us. Don't jinx us.
I'm sure it's on its way.
But along those lines, though, like I was on the phone to Sean immediately on Friday, like because we had a client that a mutual client that wanted to go see stuff in Napa, like on Saturday. Or was that this past Saturday?
Yeah, that was this past weekend.
Yeah. God. And I was like, Sean,
that was a month ago.
I know. Was it not this year? And I was like, Sean, like, can we even do this? Like, what can we even make an offer? Like, I don't know. I mean, by the offer date time, you know, it was like 6 days away. I was like, what if the fires get closer? Like, what's going to happen? And I was talking to an insurance agent. Like, it was just a whole crazy thing. But point being, this house that is in Napa, downtown, a little bit outside of downtown, still got 13 offers yesterday. So it's not slowing people down by any means.
And like your Solano County deal, it was about 15 or 20 miles away from the fire zone. So
yeah, and it's just the FEMA is done by county. And so what was funny to me is I was looking at the map. I was on the phone with one of the managers yesterday because this loan was it was like a 17-day close. We're closing next Thursday. We're clear to close. They're supposed to sign tomorrow. You know, very relaxed transaction. And I'm like, well, now what? So can I sign? Can I not sign? Do I have to delay? How long did this, you know, quasi hybrid appraisal thing take? All these little questions came up. And so we're just, you know, it is yet again another figure it out as you go detail. But the funny part was the counties that are named, Santa Clara County is not one of them. And the fire that's burning in Santa Clara County is one of the largest, but it seems to be more rural in the mountains to where it's not impacting, you know, urban areas or more concentrated housing. But my concern there is if they bring that one in, that fire has touched on Alameda, Contra Costa, Merced, San Joaquin, and Santa Clara. It just hit that corner where all the counties come together. And so I'm like, if I was talking to the guy, I'm like, we're going to have to do this for every single, if they just blanket it by county and they include that fire, now what? That's going to be every transaction in Northern California, in the Bay Area, basically. Wow. So that's to be determined. I asked for a few exceptions. I have four transactions that are in the counties that are in that FEMA zone. And one of which I didn't ask for, obviously. The other three, like one's in San Mateo, but San Mateo County was named. And the other one is two are in San Mateo. One's in Redwood City, one's in San Mateo proper. So they're not impacted, right? So I'm just sending pictures of maps to show, but it just, you know, going back, it's just, there's so much more due diligence. So it's just, everything just takes more time than it used to get through, you know, where do we land with the fires? Are we self-employed? Do we still have a job? Yeah. All these little things. So it's hard because I'm a really impatient guy and I like moving really fast. So I'm like, are we there yet? So
you're gonna have to slow down, slow your roll a little bit. What about I read they just suddenly kind of got rid of the penalty for refinancing on Tuesday. So, and rates took a plunge. Like it seems like we can't get any lower than where things are at. So
so rates have really stayed in this same range. You'll get little movement day to day. The media will say it went lower. So this tax that FHFA applied, they didn't get rid of it. They just said instead of charging September 10th. So the way that works is they made an announcement, I think August 12th, saying effective tomorrow morning, and they made the announcement at night, we're going to charge a 0.5% fee on all refinances in California, period, due to adverse market conditions. I'm like, well, if it was an adverse market condition, why wouldn't it apply to a purchase? Are you guys just really grabbing money here? Because that doesn't make sense. So what they said is, and that, by the way, it's effective September 10th. So we're giving you less than 30 days notice. And for most lenders, that means every refinance you're working on is going to be subject to this fee. But you just found out about it. You didn't build that into your margins. Therefore, lenders take a loss, right? So then they have to adjust for it. So overnight, interest rates go up 1/8 because now lenders have to adjust. And it could have felt very bait and switchish. So what we did is we basically absorbed it for a week. And that one ended on Friday. Well, then people who locked loans Monday and Tuesday would have been subject to that updated pricing. And then they come out and say, oh, we're going to push it out to December 1st. And it's just like, okay, so what we did is we removed the fee. So if you locked a loan and it had that fee applied, we had to go back and remove the fee. So your pricing improved. But all lenders, it didn't go away. Like I did a video on this yesterday. It's comical. To me, it's like grounding your child. and saying you're grounded effective immediately. And they're like, what? This is ridiculous. And you're like, okay, fine. You have 1 week. And they're like, oh, well, I'm still grounded though. Like, I know I'm still going to be in trouble. So can I just get it over with? So my concern is we've kind of taken a different approach, a very client-centric approach to make sure people get the best rates, where we're doing it tiered based on that date. So there's a date that will apply 0.25% of that 0.5%. And then the following week, it'll be the full 0.5% is built in. I don't know that all lenders are going to do that. So it just creates a lot of variability, and for what reason? So I don't know. It's ridiculous, but yeah, they made it sound like it went away, but it just got postponed.
All right, just another bait and switch with regulation. So we're used to that.
Yep.
Cool. And then Hayley, what about numbers as regards kind of transactions coming in and transactions going out?
It's pretty steady week after week here. So we had 62 single family homes come on the market in the last week, and 135 condos and TICs mixed. And we had 45 single family homes close and 61 condos / TICs close in the last week. So that we constantly are hovering around the 60 mark for single families coming on.
And it seems to be like, the same amount going out, 45, 50, 55 kind of going out. It seems to be changing on the condos. Yeah, the condos are ticking up. We're finally starting to get those, the number of transactions for the number coming in is starting to narrow. Yeah,
so 77 condos and TICs went either contingent or pending this week, and 63 single family homes went contingent or pending. So the condos it is looking a little better on the condo front.
It's looking better. They had a bleak July, and seems to be picking up. So wow, that's pretty.
Maybe it's people who are like gonna leave, and then they see the fires and are like, I'm gonna stay.
Yeah,
and they're like, I'm gonna go look at a condo.
Yeah, and it's the craziness is the fires are like everybody who's like trying to get out of the city. The fires are in all the places what they're trying to escape to. So it's kind of like. Maybe the fires are just a reminder to people who are like, well, maybe this is why you're in the safety of the city. Or
there's definitely there's a video out there of a girl who's like, so I got to put a mask on to go outside because of the fire, but I like got to stay inside because of the fire and COVID, but I got to put a N95 on because of COVID, but I can't wear that in a fire. Like it's pretty unbelievable. But I have felt pretty, just really, really lucky being in San Francisco the last week and a half. Like we're the only kind of sheltered place it's smoky, but that's it, Yeah.
So. Yeah. We're the bright star in
everybody come back.
Everybody come back. All is forgiven. All is forgiven.
Still here.
Excellent. So, Sean, if anybody's looking for you, how do we find you?
My email's right here. And then you can just Google Sean Herrero, and I'll pop up for YouTube, Instagram, everywhere.
Perfect.
Adventure lender.
You're like Kate at Parents for Public Schools. You're everywhere. YouTube, Twitter. You didn't show an Instagram thing. You're not. You need to get on Instagram.
Oh, we are. We're on.
Oh, you're on it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Probably not as exciting as the adventure lender there, but
Mine's not that exciting either.
Really. So the name doesn't fit then. I'm not sure.
Oh no, he does. You'll see him mountain climbing and doing all sorts of different things. So he's definitely an adventurer.
Can you close a deal up a mountain? That's my question. I'm not sure.
I think he's done a couple of hours, and we've been wondering what location he's in when it's happening. So
that would work.
I am testing the remote learning. I took my son fishing in Half Moon Bay last week. We went out at 6 a.m. His class started at 9:40. He did it right here in the van. It worked perfectly. So that might be my Friday every day from now on.
That's such a good idea.
I'm finding the silver lining to them staring at screens even more than they used to.
My daughter she's a big soccer player, and she's like, I'm going out to play football, Mum. I'm going to be like 15 minutes. I'm like, well, your class is in 16 minutes. So like, how are you going to? It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So I just get reassured that everything is okay.
Yeah, that's excellent. And yeah, and I love that you're still 7 years in America and you're still using the word football. So
Well, you know.
yeah.
I've got to teach my kids right.
Yeah.
No, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just the rest of the world calls it that. So, you know, I thought I'd fit in there.
I love it. So, and how when people are out there looking for us, Hayley, how does everybody find us?
elevationrealestate.com or elevation-SF on Instagram, or Google Eddie O'Sullivan and Hayley Kerstein.
Yeah, I love it. So this another great Thursday. Kate, thank you. You were fantastic and a mine of tremendous information. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and by all means, if anyone's got any questions or wants to get in contact with anything, we have an info@pps-sf.org, which I think was on that slide before. But yeah, I'm sure Eddie took note of
I have
all
a
of
video
those,
to share. I have a video,
go.
so if anybody needs to watch this again, all they have to do is reach out to us, and we will share with
Fabulous.
you. But I think the most important thing I got the gateway for the Parents for Public Schools kind of network is to basically get on the website and sign up for the newsletter.
Yeah, that's the one.
And then you can do that now. If you're even just thinking about having a child, go in and sign up and get on the newsletter, and you're ready to go.
We'll stick with you for however long you need us.
However long you need. I love it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Nice to meet
thank
everybody.
you. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.